Hi guys, today I'm going to be talking about the essential question that I studied this week, and the question that I chose to study was who am I and what motivates me. I asked 3 questions following that. So the first one I asked is how can I decipher what motivates me? The second question that I asked is what roles do my values and priorities play in my personal motivation? And the third question I asked is how does my personal motivation affect my ability to teach? So the first question, I learned some really good things, and actually mostly what I learned from was from my fellow classmates in the comments and the advice that they gave me in response to the question that I asked on our real-time board. And they had some really great suggestions. I thought it was awesome. Most of them suggested taking some time to brainstorm in one way or another. They all suggested beginning with a prayer and inviting the Spirit into that time of personal pondering. The first thing that they suggested that I do, like I said, is sit down and take some time for myself. One individual suggested that I take time to write things down and to just kind of have a free writing session and think about what is motivating me. Think about the things that I do, write them down and kind of organize those thoughts. And I thought that that was such a great concrete way to process that information and to get it organized in my own mind. Another person suggested that I really think about my daily thought processes, and that I think about the relationships that I have with people and the outcomes of those relationships, and just daily occurrences, and kind of relate that to maybe how my motivations make those things happen. They suggested I ask myself, why am I doing something? Why am I going to school? Or why am I going to church? Or those sort of things, so that I can decipher what my true motivations are. The second question that I asked is what role do my values and priorities play in motivation? And nobody actually responded to this question. So I looked up some information on values. I think values are a very interesting thing. I've had opportunities to study them in other classes, and it's amazing how much they influence the course of our actions. So values are loosely defined as perspectives about an appropriate course of action that we want to take. So if we value honesty, then we strive to be honest, or if we value transparency, we will work hard to be transparent in our relationships with other people's. So they're just this really important element, I guess you could say, that affects our behavior towards others. And there's a very close relationship between our values and our behaviors. So considering all of that, when I was questioning what role my values and priorities play in motivation, I definitely had a learning experience, because I think my values play a very large role in what I'm motivated to do and in what I hope to accomplish, and they definitely play a role in my daily behavior. And I think that considering my values is a very good kind of subset point to the first question that I asked of how can I decipher what's motivating me. When I consider my values in correlation with all of those other strategies that my classmates suggested, it could be very helpful to help me understand what things are motivating me. The final question that I asked is how do my personal motivations relate to my ability to teach? So I asked this question kind of not realizing that it was going to really close up what I had learned so well from the other 2 points that I questioned. I thought it was very interesting. One of my classmates provided a quote for me, and I'm just going to read it if I can get it pulled up here. So she cited a talk by Virginia Pierce called The Ordinary Classroom, and Sister Pierce said, a teacher's goal is greater than just delivering a lecture about truth. It is to invite the Spirit and use techniques which will enhance the possibility that the learner will discover the truth for herself and then be motivated to apply it. So this week I chose to read 26, which was in our book, which was Perry's story, and she was talking about how the public school that she attended, for whatever period of time, she did not feel like the youth there were invited to be learners, and they were not motivated to apply truth. It was just motivation to memorize things, more or less, rather than to actually learn to think about learning. And so just in consideration, or considering my values and trying to decipher what motivates me, I was able to answer this question, realizing that my personal motivations greatly affect my ability to teach, because my motivations about teaching can be very effective in the lives of students if I have the right motivations, if I'm motivated to help my students discover truths for themselves and apply what they're learning, or if I simply am motivated to go to work because it provides me with a paycheck, then the outcome of my teaching will be very, very different. And I think that was such an important thing for me to learn, especially when we consider teaching the gospel. So often I think we enter teaching in gospel settings like, oh, this is a calling, I have to get this done this week, and it kind of becomes something we just check off our list to get it over with because we're obligated to do it. But when we change our motivation and we invite others to learn truth and then be motivated themselves to apply the truth, it's definitely different than the first motivation I was talking about. So that's just what I learned this week. I definitely had a great learning experience, and my testimony of being a learner and then a teacher has been strengthened very much. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.